College basketball season is right around the corner, so I thought it'd be a great time to preview the Big Ten Conference. It's a big year for the Gophers, year one of the Nico Medved era. Um, Almost an entirely brand new roster, 13 new players, which kind of makes them a wild card team heading into the year. Um, and it's going to be a really interesting year for the conference overall. Second year of the 18-team league. It'll be the first year where all 18 teams make the conference tournament at the end of the year. But there's plenty of teams at the top, some at the bottom. So it'll be really interesting to see where the Gophers fit into this. And today I thought it'd be a great time to share my thoughts of where I think their ceiling is this year. So we're going to rank all 18 teams in the conference, and we are going to have 5 or 6 tiers here. Final Four bust, Big Ten title contenders, Sweet 16 potential, NCAA tournament teams, frisky teams, and bad teams. As you can see right at the top, I have Purdue. No shock. Heavy favorite to win the conference. Some people would put some other teams in that top tier, but I'm putting Purdue in a tier of their own. I realistically think they have a chance to be one of the great college basketball teams in recent memory. Uh, Braden Smith, National Player of the Year, preseason favorite. Um, One of the best pure point guards I think the sport has seen in quite a while. And he's the type of guy that can win you a national title on his own. But he has another All American level player next to him with Trey Coppin-Wren, who would likely be the best player on all but maybe 5 teams in the country. And then they have arguably the best coach in the conference, not named Tom Izzo, with Matt Painter, who has gotten to a Final Four recently. So I think they have all the pieces to make a deep run. I think if they don't get to the Final Four, I think it would be a very, very disappointing season. And I don't think there's anyone else in this conference with those level of expectations. So that's why they're in the top tier by themselves for me. So in the next tier here, the Big Ten title contenders, that's where we get into, I guess, the consensus number 2 team in the conference. Believe it or not, some people I think voted Michigan number 1, but year 2 of the Dusty May era, he proved himself last year that he can carry the success he had at FAU to the Big Ten, and they made some huge roster improvements. I think Yaxel Lendenberg, the UAB transfer forward, is the best player in the conference, not named Braden Smith. And then you have Morez Johnson, Elliot Cadeau. They have a loaded roster. I personally think it's undoubtedly the second best roster in the conference. And when you have a coach like Dusty May who's taken FAU to the Final Four, I can see why people um, view this team as the second best in the conference, and I do too. I think it's pretty hard to argue otherwise. They should be a fun watch all year, though. And then I have 2 more teams in this tier, and the next team I have is UCLA. I think they made some great roster improvements this year. I'm a big Mick Cronin guy. He's got that old school style of coaching, and I think they have as good of a chance as any to push Purdue and make them earn the regular season Big Ten title. At the top, you have New Mexico transfer Donovan Dent, who is a first team all conference player. It'd be pretty shocking if he wasn't there, barring an injury. And they made improvements all over the floor, talented roster, like their portal class, and they should be near the top of the conference once again. And then I have one more team in this tier, which is the Illinois Fighting Illini. Really interesting offseason for them. They went out and added a bunch of players through the transfer portal and a bunch of overseas players. Um, they have a lot of international flavor on their roster. Uh, Big Z, Zomovar Ivasic. They added his brother Tomoslav. I get the two mixed up. I might have confused myself which one was already there. Tomoslav was already there, and they added Big Z. Um, but outside of that, they added Andrei Stojakovic, Peja Stojakovic's son. I know he's dealing with some injuries. And then they added some really interesting international players. They still have Kylan Boswell. Brad Underwood hasn't made that Final Four run just yet, but they have the type of roster that can. I really thought of putting Illinois one step below, because they're kind of missing that extra gear under Underwood, who's a great coach who's proven himself. But it's kind of one of those things. If you haven't been to the Final Four, it's hard to predict. Like, you're not a Final Four coach until you are. And that's, I guess, the only thing that reason I have them below Michigan and UCLA on this tier. But they might be one of the most fun, easily one of the most fun teams to watch in the conference this year. So in the next tier, Sweet 16 potential, I have right at the top Oregon. It's hard to count Oregon out. Dana Altman, he always figures it out. Always a threat to make the Sweet 16 if he's in the tournament. And I think they have the roster to do it again this year. And then at the next spot, I have the Wisconsin Badgers. I know Gophers fans would love to hear that, but I like what they did in the transfer portal again this year. I think Nolan Winter could take a big step forward. John Blackwell coming back, and they just have another roster that can. They're probably better than they were last year, I think. Um, so they should be an interesting watch, that's for sure. But I could totally see them being a Sweet 16 team this year. And then next on the list, I got Iowa Hawkeyes. That is Ben McCollum's first year at the helm. Um, Out of the first year head coaches in this conference, I guess it's really just there's four of them. There's Indiana, Maryland, Iowa, and Minnesota. But I think Iowa has the best team out of all of them. Bennett Sturtz, uh, huge transfer pickup, was at Drake last year with McCollum. I think they got enough good pieces around him. Bennett Sturtz, obviously, favorite to be a first team all conference player. Compared to Wisconsin and Iowa, or Wisconsin and Oregon, I think Iowa has a little more variance for where they could finish. But if March rolls around and they're playing in the second weekend of the NCAA tournament, I would not be surprised, which is why I have them on this tier. And then the next tier, NCAA tournament teams. These are teams that I think will make the tournament, but I think they're flawed. Um, Starting at top, Michigan State. Tom Izzo, Hall of Fame coach. I just don't know if he's adapted well enough to the transfer portal era. It's just their roster. They have Jeremy Fears, Cohen Carr coming back. It just seems like the same team we've seen the last 3 or 4 years. Um, it screams a 7 to 10 seed in the NCAA tournament. They could win a game. I don't think they could win two, personally. I would be stunned if they didn't make the NCAA tournament, but it just seems like one of those Izzo teams that are going to win a couple big games. They're going to lose a couple big games. They're going to play a good non-conference schedule, and then they'll be in the NCAA tournament. But it's not like they're. Everyone says, "Oh, they're Final Four team." No, they're not. Tom Izzo, great coach, but I don't think he's adapted to the modern era as well as guys like Dana Altman, Greg Gard, and Mick Cronin, and even Brad Underwood, which lands them in this tier for me. Next, I have Indiana, another first-year head coach, Darian DeVries. They made a lot of moves in the transfer portal. I think their team's just too new. I think Darian DeVries is good enough of a coach to get them to the NCAA tournament. Lamar Wilkerson, his son Tucker DeVries, are two all-conference level guys that can go for 20 on any night. And I'd be pretty surprised if they didn't make the tournament. But there's just too many moving parts. I think we've seen now we have enough of a sample size in this modern transfer portal era that these teams need a little bit of cohesion, guys that are familiar with each other, and I think there's just too many moving parts for them to make serious noise this year. But they're a good basketball team. They're going to be a tough out anytime they play, and it just the movement is what I said. These are teams that are good, but they have a flaw, and that's their flaw. There's just too many new players. Next on the list, USC. Really interesting team here. Maybe the most interesting in the conference. They had an interesting offseason. Signed Elijah Arenas, 5-star incoming freshman, who had a weird car accident in the offseason, and then he had a significant injury, and he's probably going to be out for the entire year, which lowers their ceiling, likely. But USC still went out and added Chad Baker-Mazara, the Auburn transfer, who's older than me. I've been graduated from college for 2 years. I believe he's 25 now. Um, he's a really good college basketball player. Your opinion on him can be whatever you want, but um, they USC has a NCAA tournament roster. Eric Musselman has done it before. Um, it wouldn't shock me if it goes off the rails. They might be the highest variance team in the country. Like I really don't know what to expect. They made serious improvements talent wise. But I don't know, man. There's just they seem just a little too crazy for me. They seem like a team that's going to have a lot of results early in the year that you're like, what the heck? They might be ranked at some point, and they might lose to like a team that's outside like the top 150 in Ken Palm. I think they're going to make the NCAA tournament, but who the heck knows? Next on this list, Nebraska. Really interesting team again. Fred Hoiberg seems to be figuring it out there. They surprisingly didn't make the tournament last year, but they have Rink Mast coming back. They beat BYU in an exhibition. I think they have the pieces to be a bubble team. Um, I think they're a team that's just going to be on the bubble all year. They could get into the tournament, and I think that'd be a great year in Nebraska, but I don't really expect much more or much less from them. I just think they're going to be a solid team, float around 20 wins this year. And then next on the list, we got Washington, year 2 of the Danny Sprinkle era. I like what they did in the transfer portal, brought in Desmond Claude, and they made some more interesting moves. Again, they just seem like a bubble team to me. I don't think they've proven themselves enough to deserve a ranking higher. I think it's a big year for Sprinkle. A lot of people thought he was a great hire, and last year was pretty disappointing for them. They're the one team I really thought of bumping them down a tier, but uh, Sprinkle has proven that he can do it at Montana State and Utah State. So it seems like he'll get things turned around at Washington, and that's kind of what I'm betting on here. And then the next tier, we got the Frisky tier, and this is where the Gophers land for me. What is that at? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15th or 14th in the conference. 13th. I don't know. I'm not good at counting, but the Gophers are going to be a frisky team this year. I don't think they're going to make the NCAA tournament. I think in order to do that, Isaac Osma has to be their best player. And I don't know if he's there yet. I think he's their second best player. After watching their exhibition win over North Dakota State, I think Cade Tyson's going to lead this team in scoring. I think Osma's going to be number 2. And to win games late in March, you need to have a lead guard. We saw Nico Medved do that last year with Nick Clifford and Kyan Evans in the NCAA tournament with Colorado State. And I just don't think they have those guys yet this year. I think Cade Tyson is the X factor. If he's the player that we see that we saw in that exhibition the whole year, then this team's outlook completely changes because that looked like an all-conference level player. And I think they're going to need that from Isaac Osma too. I like the role players on this team at the other positions, but I think the Gophers are going to have a against one of these teams ranked above them. Maybe they're ranked and maybe they storm the court at the barn and it's a big win. Maybe they beat a top 10 Wisconsin team late in the season. Wouldn't surprise me at all. But I think they're also going to have games where it's close against some of these teams below them. And in the non conference, it might take a little bit to get going. So that's why I'm in this tier. I really could see them finishing higher than Nebraska and Washington. I couldn't see them finishing much higher than that. I think that's kind of their ceiling. But I don't think they're among the bottom feeders in this conference. I expect them to be competitive in most every game this year. Next on the list, I have Northwestern, led by Nick Martinelli, one of the best players in the conference, returning 20-point per game scorer last year. Hard to rank a team much lower than that when you have that coming back. I believe he led the conference in scoring last year. I think there is a scenario where Northwestern maybe works their way onto the bubble. Chris Collins is just a great head coach. But it's hard to trust them much more than that. They just don't have as deep as a team as some of these other programs in the conference. So that's why they land in the frisky tier. Next, I have Maryland. Year one of the Buzz Williams era. They had a good portal class with Miles Rice, Pharrell Payne, Buzz Williams, great head coach. It's just there's so many teams in this conference. Would I be stunned if Maryland was on the bubble this year? No. Do I think they will be? No. It just they seem like a 500 team to me. Uh, Probably still a year away. Again, just like Indiana, it's so hard when you have a whole new team, and I think we'll see them struggle a little bit, but I think they're going to be a tough out going forward with Buzz at the helm. And then next on the list, I have Ohio State. I think this time next year, Jake Diebler will not be the head coach of the Buckeyes. They're talent-wise, they should be higher on this list. I just don't think Jake Diebler is a good head coach. I think that was a weird move that they named him the full-time head coach after he was the interim. Good roster. It just there's too many good coaches in this conference that I'm just not comfortable putting him higher. Honestly, would be pretty surprised if they made the NCAA tournament, and if they don't, I'd be pretty surprised if Jake Diebler sticks around. So, and then rounding out here, bad teams. Penn State and Rutgers. I think Rutgers the worst team. I think Mike Rhodes is a really good head coach, but I think Penn State's the hardest job in the conference. Um, I mean, if they were able to get Yona Conan Niederreiser to come back, they would be a little bit better this year. But he surprisingly went to the draft and he got drafted. I don't think they probably thought that was going to happen when they added him from the transfer portal. But the only way I guess Penn State in their current iteration is going to perform much higher is retention, and they just didn't have enough from last year. They should be an interesting team. I don't think they're going to be a pushover. I really don't think anyone in this conference is a pushover, but it just I don't see a path for them making the NCAA tournament, which puts them in the last tier for me. And then I got Rutgers. I don't know what happened with Rutgers. The Ace Bailey, Dylan Harper experiment might have set the program back a couple of years because it clearly did not work. And now they probably didn't have enough money to go get transfers this year, and the roster is just not good. Steve Peichel, great head coach. It'll be interesting to see the reaction if they have another down year, because he kind of revived that program and took it to places they really haven't been. So I just, again, don't see a path with them making the NCAA tournament, which puts them in the bottom tier. But there we go. All 18 Big Ten teams ranked. Gophers should be a fun winter in the barn. They should be competitive all year. And that's where I have them stacked up heading into the year. As always, I appreciate you guys for listening. Make sure you leave a comment, like, and subscribe. Helps us get found, helps us out a ton. Make sure to check out our written content over at Gophers on SI, along with Timberwolves, Twins, and Vikings on SI. And until next time.